Chapter 51 Giant Man displays his might. Once the aromatic coiling silk poisons the body, the toxin would enter the blood vessels and gradually spread throughout the entire body. Ordinary mortals would not be in any danger, but to cultivators, this poison would be extremely fatal after a short amount of time. The cultivator affected by the poison could not recklessly disrupt his or her internal true qi, or else the poison would flare up and cause the blood in the body to flow backwards, resulting in immense pain and suffering. However, if one was poisoned for a longer period of time, the toxicity would penetrate the body, making the situation worse. Even if a person managed to recover somewhat and properly control of his or her true qi, he or she would still have to consume the antidote on a daily basis. Otherwise, gradual changes would occur within the bones, causing the body's foundation to wither. The body would curl up, paralyzed and unable to move. Eventually, the body would melt into a pool of mud. Even more terrifying was that once the poison penetrated the bones, nothing could be done to extract it. The individual could only rely on long-term treatment in order to survive. The poison would not flare up for the time being, instead becoming like a thread of carnal love, forever plaguing the victim's body. The poison was made up of a variety of materials, many of which could be replaced. Although the end product would be the same, the specific toxicity would change according to the person who concocted it, making the poison unique to its maker. Naturally, the antidote would also be unique. Only the person who manufactured the poison would be able to prescribe the correct antidote and suppress its toxicity. Even if others knew the method of making the aromatic coiling silk, they would have no way of concocting an antidote specifically geared to combat the aromatic coiling silk that someone else had produced. This way, the poisoned individual's puny life would be within the hands of the one who poisoned him. Unable to rebel or resist, the victim could only be obedient. Dr. Mo racked his brain for any memories regarding the aromatic coiling silk, filtering through his vast knowledge. He then understood the reason behind Han Li's fearlessness. Dr. Mo sneered in his heart, but his facial expression did not change. He indifferently asked, "Is this your last trick? Brat, it seems you have ran out of moves, so just obediently admit defeat." Han Li's heart sank upon seeing no changes in Dr. Mo's expression. At this point, Han Li was sure he had miscalculated something since Dr. Mo seemed to have entirely disregarded his threat. Dr. Mo did not seem provoked in the slightest, making it seem that he truly paid no mind to the aromatic coiling silk in his body. Even more so, Han Li was clear that because of this, he was in a very disadvantageous position. It looked as if his opponent was greatly certain that he could seize Han Li. Seeing Han Li remain silent, Dr. Mo laughed and deviously looked at him before saying loudly, "Iron Slave, capture him for me." Once Han Li heard this, he immediately remembered that after entering the house, he thought that he had forgotten something very crucial, Iron Slave. However, he had no time to mull over it. Instead, Han Li used the tip of his toes to hook the awl that was beside his leg. It automatically jumped into his hand. In an instant, a large shadow rushed from the corner of the room with a fierce wind following close behind. Its speed was incredibly fast, and it appeared before Han Li in a second, rendering him unable to evade. Helpless, Han Li could only use the sharp awl in his hand to stab towards the shadow's lower abdomen. He hoped he would at least be able to resist for a while so that he could have a chance to retreat and recover his breath. Stabbing the abdomen with the small awl was not the most optimal move, but Han Li had no other choice. His opponent was just too tall, and the weapon Han Li was using was only a few inches long, which made the abdomen the only area it was capable of reaching. Han Li suddenly felt like he had just collided against some kind of monster. It was as if a large wooden object had smacked his extended wrist, directly dislocating it from his arm. Subsequently, his body fell back a few steps due to the impact. The awl in his hand seemed to have struck a rock and was sent flying, disappearing without a trace. Han Li was unfathomably startled and angry. Just after barely stabilizing his body, the large figure appeared before him in the blink of an eye. Immediately, Han Li felt a sharp pain on both his shoulder as two large hands latched onto his shoulder blades tenaciously, pinning him down. Han Li struggled with all of his might, but it was as if an enormous mountain were pressing down on his body, rendering him unable to move at all. He was not able to do much in this kind of situation. In a moment of desperation, he lifted up his knee and aimed ferociously towards the weak point between the large shadow's legs. Ouch! It was so painful that Han Li was constantly dripped with cold sweat. Upon unleashing an attack that would have normally been fatal on his opponent, he discovered that the giant shadow was incomparably solid. His kneecap broke into many pieces just like the pieces of a hen's egg cracking upon hitting the egg against a rock. However, Han Li's move only provoked his opponent. The large hands above his shoulders suddenly increased their pressure. Han Li was in so much pain that he feebly collapsed to the ground, almost losing consciousness. "Easy, Iron Slave. I still have use for this person," Dr. Mo loudly commanded. After those words were spoken, Han Li felt his shoulders lighten, and the pain was greatly reduced. In his heart, he couldn't help but sigh in relief. For once, he thought that Dr. Mo's voice was pleasant to hear. But after rejoicing for a moment, his creeping suspicions resurfaced in his mind. From the very beginning of their fight, Han Li found that, for some unknown reason, Dr. Mo would become lenient towards Han Li at crucial points in the scuffle, afraid that Han Li might hurt himself. Naturally, Han Li knew that Dr. Mo was not the sort of benevolent person that would intentionally go easy on him. There was definitely some sinister affair going on that Han Li wasn't aware of. Dr. Mo's concern that Han Li would hurt himself was why Dr. Mo had been cautious when taking action against Han Li, because he did not dare to attack violently. If not, the two would have been at each other's throats. Han Li secretly made up his mind to fully exploit this aspect when negotiating with Dr. Mo and then think of a way to escape his opponent's evil clutches. As Dr. Mo walked to the front of Han Li, he could see through everything that Han Li was thinking. He let a sneer flash across his face as he felt around Han Li's chest and extracted a mirror. He couldn't help but be somewhat dumbstruck at this object. As it turned out, it was this object that had protected Han Li's chest from Dr. Mo's strike. Without saying anything, he slightly nodded his head and took out a rectangular yellow wooden box from his bosom. This box was remarkably exquisite, and its surface was engraved with a dragon and a phoenix. Anyone could see that it was a rare and precious object, and thus rarely seen by ordinary people. Dr. Mo faced Han Li and solemnly opened the lid of the box, revealing a few strange, identical silver blades. They somehow resembled a combination between a dagger and a sword. The body of the blades were very peculiar. They were curved into half-moons, their length similar to that of stiletto knives. When Dr. Mo took out one of the silver blades, Han Li saw that, oddly enough, the sinister blade was as thin as a piece of paper. The cold light flashing on the blade's surface was enough for Han Li to know that the blade was razor sharp. Using it to slice human flesh would be as easy as cutting clothes. The tip of the handle on the silver blade was even more bizarre. Inlaid on the tip was an extremely ferocious and sinister-looking demon head, which had a pair of horns and eyes that were tightly shut. Dr. Mo lifted this sinister blade and glanced knowingly at Han Li out of the corner of his eye. This action left Han Li absolutely horrified. His inauspicious thought seemed to be true. Dr. Mo wanted to use the sinister blade to cut him.